What's up YouTube, Demi here with the long-awaited 3.0 version of LemonPrime. Still using Blast Rain and Lightning Arrow. Where's Blast Rain? Alright, this is Lightning Arrow with Reach of the Council, 55k tooltip and hideout. And then Blast Rain, 60k tooltip and hideout. So we're gonna go ahead and do a Shaper run real quick. Path of Building says I have 1.5 million DPS with Blast Rain, which is not like holy shit insane. Feels fine though. As you can see, I don't have Vault Pact because this is 3.0 and you cannot instantly leech Vault Pact or instantly leech ES at all, even if you have Legacy Finktars or Cuties, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can't do it. You just have to deal with the fact that you can't. And it's fine because we're block capped with roomies. 75-42% block. It doesn't matter that much because we have time in between taking hits to actually like get the ES to leech back up to full, so it's fine. I've never really thought this character needed Vault Pact. It was just the most obvious broken option, so I took it, but it's not really needed anymore because we can't get it. I think we have 3 frenzies, 5 power charges max. You do have the option to weapon swap and use your Lightning Arrow if you want. I tend to use Lightning Arrow for most map clears, and then I swapped to Blast Rain for boss fights. I'm still using my solo self-found filter. But that's okay. So let's go mess with Shaper.
The nexus of nothingness and equilibrium of the end.
So you want to be like in melee range, so he can like not block correctly, or so you can block correctly. Just kind of get to hang out and chunk him.
They're coming through.
Da-da-da. Try to keep your frenzies up. It's not like super important, but it is extra DPS. So with everything up, I have 131k tooltip. That's per explosion. Blast Rain has 4 explosions. My helm gives me a 75% chance for an additional explosion. So it's like a 1.25 damage multiplier, 25% more. It's kind of cool. So here's Lightning Arrow clearing. Of course, everything has proximity shield, so it looks bad. You tend to one-shot most things. And you feel pretty safe because you're block capped, immune to chaos damage, you're immune to status ailment. It's your Pathfinder. You have pretty ridiculous flask effect. Let me get a tooltip, there you go. So 115k tooltip on Lightning Arrow, which forks because of Rigwald's Quills. If you really wanted extra arrows, you could drop your Quicksilver Flask to get a Dying Sun Ruby Flask. You could also use Barrage instead of Blast Rain if you want to go that meme route. I prefer this route.
Behold the face of your unmaking.
Father, why would you do this?
Imperfection must be reshaped. You must be reshaped.
Come to me.
God damn it, dude. Always stand in melee range, you'll be fine.
Inconsequential.
So what else is there? On the tree, because they dropped the more ES nodes behind CI, we effectively just gained some points to like throw around other places. We lost those 3 points. We didn't have to get Vault Pact anymore, so like that frees up the tree to go more towards elemental penetration and damage overall, and power charges and stuff like that. So I did change the tree slightly. As always, the forum build guide will be linked in the description below the video. As for making this character in League, you're probably going to have to do a life-based version, so I will include a life-based tree in the forum guide, but most of my gear in the forum guide itself is going to be focused on being CI, as that's what this build is. I'll give you some options for life-based, but not too many. because I don't spend that much time on life-based as this character. I tried playing this character life-based in Hall of Grandmasters. It was very painful. I spent a long time in there trying to just like survive, but the Chaos Clouds, if you're not CI from like minions or like blight characters, they just insta-kill you.
They're coming through.
And it's a pretty rough fight. So I don't really recommend doing that as life-based. You can still do it, it's just painful, so like it's not like super hardcore viable or anything like that in Grandmasters as life-based. But it does work, it's just painful.
Stay close.
I don't know if you guys remember the 50 Hall Grandmasters Profit video. The last half of those were actually done with this character in 3.0, as is. So, it works. Make sure you stay in melee range, and you'll be fine.
You were my greatest creator.
Alright, so let's just do a quick once over of the skill tree and what it looks like. You are Pathfinder, ascendancy points in order of importance. You want to go for Nature's Boon. Gain flash charges, you get chance to not consume charges, so you can press them more than once sometimes. You get Master Alchemist for immunity to ailments, you don't have to worry about Ignite, Shock, Freeze, any of that stuff because of this, so it's really cool. And then we go for Veteran Voyeur, 10% of his is extra damage for random element, and then 10% LE Pen and 100% increased flash charges if you kill stuff that's affected by ailments. So if they're shocked, frozen, ignited, whatever, you're going to get those flash charges gained. And anything in range of Vigtars is shocked, so that gives you 100% flash charges all the time, even with LE Focus. Then your last 2 points, you can go for either one of these two. Herbalist doesn't make any sense because the poison on hit is shit because we're full LE, so actually don't do that. Go for Nature's Adrenaline for the attack and movement speed while using a flask. Skill tree though, you go for proj damage, attack speed, because more attacks per second is more blast rain explosions, which is more damage. Ballistic mastery, because projectile damage does scale blast rain. Aspect of the eagle, movement speed, damage, accuracy, whatever. Flask effect, charges gained. Flash charges gained, flask effect duration. Avatar of the Hunt gives you a bunch of his damage, movement speed. Jewels, we'll go over the properties for that. Then we get point blank, because it's 50% more damage if they're standing on top of you, like we were during Shaper. Pen while using a flask is just insane. And then a bunch of crit multi. The reason I don't take King of the Hill is because with Blast Rain, you want them to be standing in the center of the 4 explosions, like right in the middle. They overlap, so if you have there's a little tiny zone in the middle where all 4 explosions can overlap. If you have King of the Hill, it pushes them backwards constantly, because every time you crit, it knocks them back. That means that they don't get to stay in the death zone very long, which means you do a lot less DPS, unless the target's immune to damage, or immune to knockback. Like Guardians and Shaper, you could potentially take these points instead of these points. But I think that these are more multi and much more efficient personally for like mapping and whatnot. Then we come here for more crit multi, another jewel, the bottom half of Deadly Draw, Heavy Draw. Deadly Draw is the attack speed phys damage side. It's way better than the pure phys damage side. Come up for another jewel socket, and then we go over to Forces of Nature for the penetration while using a flask, or sorry, penetration with weapons, which is really good. Come up here for another jewel socket, a power charge, Ghost Reavers, you can still leech ES, CI, ES, Energy Shield, crit multi, lightning damage, and lightning damage penetrates 8% of resists, pretty solid. We come down here and go for attack speed, or attack damage, spell damage, crit multi, ES. We take the melding wheel now because we need a little bit more ES. Without this wheel, I think I go down to like 6.5k ES or less, which is less than you'd have as, or probably about the same as what you have as with the Calm's Heart, so I'd rather do this. And then we head into the Witch Supercluster for all of this juicy ES, and Flask Effect, obviously, Jewel Socket, and Power Charges. So as for jewels, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jewels, and all of my jewels are 4 damage property. They all have attack speed with bows, and then 3 damage properties that work for both Lightning Arrow and Blast Rain. Lightning Arrow is attack AoE lightning bow, and then Blast Rain is fire attack AoE bow. So they're pretty similar. So this is phys damage, crit multi, area damage. This is phys damage, crit multi with LE, so it works with both. Since they're tagged with lightning and fire, they're both LEs. It works. Proj damage also works with both. Anything that has the bow tag inherits projectile damage, for those of you that are confused about that. Even though Blast Rain doesn't shoot projectiles, extra projectiles doesn't do anything with it, because it is tagged with a bow skill tag, it will still gain the damage from projectile. I already did that one. So they all have attacks with bows. Fizz damage, crit multi, area damage. Fizz damage, crit multi, area damage. Fizz damage, crit multi with Ellie, proj damage. Fizz damage, proj damage, area damage. You seen a trend here? Fizz damage, proj damage, area damage. I have a bunch of identical jewels. Fizz damage, attack speed, fizz damage. And then we have damage, fizz damage, attack speed, area damage. If you can get more crit multi on your jewels, like the crit multi with Ellie roll, that is such a strong roll for us. But I only have one of those, because you can get a lot of multi out of it. As you can see, I have 392 multi. If I had 7 of those, I'd be up to like 480 multi or something. Huge amount of extra damage. Let me see. Let's show you the tooltip without jewels, for those of you that don't have GG4 props. Try to get at least 3 prop damage. If you get 3 damage plus 1 ES roll, if your ES gear is a lot weaker than mine, then you'll still be able to achieve similar levels of ES along with slightly less damage. So as you can see, without all of my jewels, I do about half the damage that I had before. 31k DPS. That gives me 4k. That gives me 4k. 4k. Like, this just a lot. That's 5k actually. So as you can see, jewels are very, very fucking powerful. Try to get good jewels at endgame once all your other shit's figured out. So, gear. For Blast Rain, we use a Harbinger bow with the most DPS you can get. Brood Twine would be good in this slot, but I have a PvP version because I like doing Grandmasters. For PvP, I just swap to my chest piece, which is why I have this empty. But non-PvP, I use Blast Rain, Fizz to Lightning, Conk Effect, Ellie Focus, Elemental with attacks, and damage on full life. We are CI, we're always at 1 life unless we're dead, so this gives you that 49% more damage with attack skills. It used to be just melee skills, but now it works for ranged as well, which is pretty cool. And then for Lightning Arrow, it's Lightning Arrow, faster attacks, increased crits, Lightning Pen, Fizz to Lightning, and Elemental damage with attacks. This is not the highest DPS setup per hit, but if you do highest DPS setup, you will die to one-shots. So that's why I have faster attacks in here, so another more multiplier. That's why I'm using Lightning Pen that's why I'm using increased crits instead of crit multi. You don't want to one-shot yourself to reflect. Even with max block cap and the, I'm not even using reduced reflect. I was supposed to be using this. Reduced reflective damage taken, you will still occasionally hit hard enough with this damage setup if you went full damage setup to die to reflect. But with this, you deal less damage, you attack faster, so you have time between hits to leech back up to full without dying. And then PvP links, I put Blast Rain in my chest, and then I use Fizz to Lightning, Conk Effect, Elemental damage with attacks, damage on full life. Ellie Focus is the last one, which we don't use when in PvP, and then we use a block chance reduction gem. So with 15% on your bow, plus the block chance gem itself, block chance reduction, we should have 50% block chance reduction, which means that if somebody's capped at 75-75 block, they actually have 25-25 block against us. Makes it very easy to kill the CI Aegis tanks in there, and most other block characters just instantly die to this amount of Ellie damage, which is great. But that's why my chest links are empty. You don't need to have a chest on. If you're wearing this as a life-based build, just wear a Calm's Heart, because you have 2 6 links on your bows. Aura setups. I'm using Hatred, Discipline, and Enlighten 4. That with Skyforce, Reservation, and the small amount of Reservation on the tree, just the 4% note. So you have 4% there, 6% here, that's 10% total. That lets us reserve all of our auras, because we also have a, where is it? Peril Device, Curse on Hit, Poacher's Mark. So we have a 25 aura, we have a 50 aura, and a 35 aura. That adds up to more than 100, but the Reservation allows you to actually do it. Then random 1-link frenzies, you can keep up your frenzies on Shaper and stuff like that. Your cast damage taken setup is cast damage taken, summon Ice Golem, Frost Bomb, because negative 20% cold resistance. With Hatred and Taste of Hate, that's a lot of cold. So that lets you do a little bit more damage for free. We also have Proj Weakness, which is 55% increased damage taken from projectiles. That's huge. That's 55% more damage. Increased damage taken is the same as more damage dealt. So when they like when Shaper melees me and chunks me, he then starts taking 55% more damage. So he just fucking dies at that point. And then we also have a random 1-link Blink Arrow, so you can move up and down ledges and whatnot. And then we'll go into ES gear. So helmet, get as much ES as possible, as much resistance and intelligence as possible. Best in slot enchant for Blast Rain is an additional blast. That's the 25% more multiplier we talked about at the very beginning of the video. If you can't get that, you can get Lightning Arrow damage, Blast Rain damage, it doesn't matter. Some other useful damage enchant is great. If you don't want a damage enchant, you can go for, like, I don't know, Poacher's Mark, Curse Effect, I guess would be good as well. Chest plate, same thing, you want as much ES as possible and as much int as possible. This is actually an old triple T1 chest that has a bricked suffix, so I don't know if I will ever annul this. I might. It's triple T1 prefix with shit suffix, so if I annulled that, hit a suffix, I could metacraft it and make a better chest, but I used to use Victory Pelt, which I don't know where I have. I don't know where my old chest is, but the resist pairings just weren't right, so I lost the int roll. If you have a T1 int roll, though, it'll give you another 150 ES at my level of ES, which isn't much, but it does add up. Boots, Skyforce, no question. Best in slot enchant, damage penetrates 10% alley pen if you haven't killed recently. So when you're doing a boss fight with no adds like Shaper, you just get 10% pen all the time for all 3 elements, and you're dealing all 3 elements with Blast Rain, so it's a pretty huge damage buff. If you don't have that enchant, you want a mapping enchant, go for the Leech if you killed recently enchant, or the attack and cast speed if you killed recently enchant. For lab running, go for the movement speed if you haven't killed recently enchant, or if you haven't been hit recently, sorry, so you just run faster. Gloves, you want accuracy, resistances, and as much as possible. Get Commandment of Fury, because it is a projectile skill. It throws out 10 arrows in a spiral. So if I tag something with Blast Rain, it'll fire like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it converts 50% to fire, and then the rest is just random elements. So as you can see, it does 53 DPS without anything up. If I flask, it goes up to 82k. That's without power frenzies. It'll go up to like 200k with everything else. It's a lot of damage for an enchant. That's why I don't go for like the projectile damage gloves, because that enchant is just ridiculous. Amulet, you want crit multi, fizz, wed, and ES. If you want a mirror tier amulet, mine's close, but it's got the lightning res on it instead of accuracy. But hey, whatever. Rings, resistances, ES, again, fizz damage to attacks and wed are really good. If you get lightning damage to attacks and wed, that'd be really good as well. But again, it's just resistances, as much ES as possible, and as much damage as possible, and ES. Amulet, this is actually important. To achieve block cap with the roomies, you need to have a rear guard, sorry, with a decent roll of block and spell block. So without that, I have 58-29 block, but the quiver itself adds enough block on top of that to cap me out on attack block with a legacy roomies, perfect legacy roomies. I don't think you need perfect. I think you can go to like 37% and it'll still cap you, something like that. I don't know, you can do the math, but the implicit is what I wanted to refer to next. The converted lightning damage is really important, especially for your like, because we're primarily focused on lightning damage on the tree. We have a lot of penetration generic, but we also have specific lightning pen. So converting more of your fizz damage to lightning as a percentage gives you a higher like amount of lightning damage on hits. Like you see, where is it? 3300 to the 7800. You take this off, you lose a little bit of lightning damage. You see that? It's good. I like the conversion. It gives you more lightning. You don't need that though. Any of the conversion enchants is good, but I try to focus on lightning damage. Let's see. Belt. You want wed, you want hysteria penetration while using a flask. It's a suffix. This belt's in my mirror thread. It's the ES version, obviously. A lot of people want life base, but this is one of the best, as far as I know, belts with hysteria pen on it. It's a crystal belt. It's pretty fucking good. And then when you weapon swap to Reach of the Council, you have your lightning arrows set up, right? So this is a legacy perfect reach, but you have a Rigwald's Quills with fork on it, so this prevents you from needing pierce or chain or anything like that. Your lightning arrows, when they hit something, they will explode and hit, or not explode, they'll hit the target, and then they will strike the 3 additional enemies near the target with bolts. And with fork, you hit like, how many arrows am I firing? 6 arrows. You hit 6 enemies, each one hits 3 things next to it, that's 18 enemies, and then those 6 arrows fork and they can hit 12 more, so you can just shotgun the hell out of the pack, and each bolt that hits an enemy around another enemy can hit the first enemy again, so it lets you shotgun really hard. It's very, very nice to get. I highly recommend getting a Rigwalds. They're pretty brokenly OP sometimes. I like them a lot. But yeah, just get a double legacy reach for the additional arrows. If you don't have a double legacy reach, you could just use a lightning arrow set up in your chest with GMP instead of another more multiplier with a regular bow. I don't like doing that though. I like weapon swapping because reach is cool. I think, oh yeah, flasks. We need to talk about flasks. Required flasks: diamond flask, Rumi's concoction, Vingtars. If you can get the penetration Vingtars, that's ideal. Taste of Fate also gives you more damage and your fizz mitigation, which is pretty helpful. You want curse immunity on your diamond flask because you're immune to status ailments. Actually, wait, hang on. I'm using the wrong flask. What the fuck? This should be this way, my bad. You need bleed on your diamond flask. I was using the wrong flask for Shaper, but I guess there's no bleed, so it doesn't matter. You're immune to status ailments that are elemental related because of Pathfinder, so the only like stuff you're missing on your flask is Curse and Bleed. So for PvP, you want to make sure you have both of those. That's why I was wearing these. But Quicksilver, get movement speed so you can run fast, and then as much block as you can get on your roomies as possible. You can get a Legacy of Vengtars, that's great. It just gives you 2 uses. The difference between Legacy and non-Legacy is not as huge as it is now, since they nerfed it from Instant Leech. But yeah, I think that's everything. The character's pretty fun. I'm having no issues with it while mapping or doing shape or anything like that. It still farms Grandmasters very, very well. Guardians pretty well. Uber Ziri is great, except for you don't have Instant Leech anymore, so the 1% Reflect is kind of an issue. But all of this information and more is in the forum guide, which is linked in the description. As I said earlier, if you enjoyed these type of videos, hit the like button, leave a comment what you want to see next, or if you have any critique on this, share it with your friends. Follow me on Twitch, and if you like everything I do, consider supporting on Patreon, as it helps a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. That's Demi out.